Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Eat Story. Today, we're making another Roman classic, but it's bread this time. Spelt bread to be exact. From historical sources, we know that Romans made lots of bread with different kinds of wheats, but more on that later. First, I'll show you what you need to become a real Roman baker. Here come the ingredients. First, you'll need about 405 grams of spelt flour. You see it in front of me. Then wheat flour, also the exact same amount. You'll need some olive oil. It's optional but very delicious, so I recommend you to use it. A little bit of sea salt and some starter. I'll show you later in a video how to make that. Water, of course. Now, let's make the bread. Here you'll see me get the spelt flour and the wheat flour and using all the dry ingredients at once. Start off with your dry ingredients, so the spelt flour and the wheat flour. Put it in a bowl shape like this. This way you'll have enough room for your wet ingredients. Then, use your starter. I prefer to use a bread starter like this over dried yeast. The reason for that is that the bread will rise much nicer and will taste way better. Also, historically more accurate. The Romans loved using the sourdough starter. Some families even passed them down to the next generation, keeping the starter alive for years. Then use salt for extra flavor and olive oil to taste. Then add the water. Don't add it all at once. You want to knead it in until it feels right. If it's on the wet side, you add some more flour. If it's dry, you add some more water. Just channel your inner Roman baker and he'll tell you when it's the right consistency. Start kneading until the dough cleanses your hands and forms a nice smooth ball. I really like this recipe because there are so many written sources and archaeological finds of it. It shows that bread is timeless fuel for humans, and the recipe hasn't changed in all these years. If it bounces a bit like this, it's ready to rest. Put it in a greased up bowl. I use olive oil for this also, and cover it up. As you can see, the dough is pretty sticky and a bit bouncy. This is because of the spelt. It behaves different than wheat flour, for example. Let it all rest until it doubles in size around 1.5 hours minimum. If it's doubled in size and feels soft to the touch, it's ready for the next step, resting again. I knead the dough thoroughly one more time to get all those air bubbles out. Then flour your hands like a professional wall climber and form a round ball. We're going to let it rest for one more time, but this time in the tray you want to bake it in. I use the bottom of a tagine this time. It represents the clay dishes Romans used and gonna give it its extinct flavor. Use a baking sheet to prevent it from sticking to the bottom. I'm not sure this will happen, but I did it anyways, just in case, and because I'm a doom thinker, to be honest. Then, I grease that puppy up like it's my newborn infant and let it rest for another 30 minutes, circa. After it doubled down in size again, I will give it some pattern X marks on the spot, but you can do whatever pattern you want. This prevents it from rising way too high. Oh, forgot to mention, but preheat your oven circa 190 to 100 degrees Celsius and put that loaf in. While it bakes for around 30 minutes, I'll tell you all about the ancient Romans and their beloved bread. So it's history time now. So, where does this bread come from? Roman bread was one of the most fundamental foods in the Roman world, cutting across social classes, region, and even centuries. Unlike elite dishes described by later Roman authors, bread appears in both literary sources and archaeology as a necessity rather than a luxury. One of the earliest textual sources is Cato the Elder, the Agricultura, written in the 2nd century BC. Cato was not interested in food for pleasure. His work is more like a manual for managing an efficient rural estate, and bread appears in that context as fuel for hard labor. He discusses grain cultivation, storage, milling, and rations for workers, making clear that cereals formed the backbone of the Roman diet. Cato frequently refers to ford, a form of hulled wheat usually translated as spelt or emmer, which was widely cultivated in Italy and used for bread and porridge. His approach treats bread not as cuisine, but rather as some kind of infrastructure, something that must be reliable, filling, and cheap. A more detailed discussion of bread making appears later, and Pliny the Elder's Natural History, written in the 1st century AD. In Book 18, Pliny describes Roman knowledge of grains and fermentation. He explains that Romans did not rely on commercial yeast, but instead created leaven from fermented grape must mixed with bran and or grain. This leaven was sometimes dried into cakes, stored and later rehydrated and mixed with fine flour, often spelt, to produce bread. Pliny notes proportions of leaven to flour and remarks that this method was considered particularly effective. His account shows that Romans understood fermentation in practical terms, even if they did not describe it scientifically. Textual evidence is reinforced by finds from Pompeii and Herculaneum, where carbonized loaves of bread were preserved by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79. These loaves provide rare physical evidence of Roman baking practices. Many are round and scored into wedge-shaped segments, a form commonly referred to as panis quadratus. Some loaves carry stamps identifying the baker or owner, indicating commercial production and regulation. The presence of loaves in ovens and houses suggests the bread was baked regularly and locally, often in communal ovens rather than private homes. The scoring seen on ancient loaves may have helped the bread bake evenly or made it easier to divide. These experiments demonstrate that Roman bread was designed to last, travel, and sustain physical work. Taking all this together, these sources show that Roman bread was not a single recipe but a system, shaped by agriculture, fermentation technique, communal baking, and the demand of daily labor. Whether eaten by farmers, soldiers, or city dwellers, bread made from spelt or wheat formed the nutritional foundation of Roman life. Now let's see what it actually tastes like. The bread is a bit on the dense side, as you can see. This is because of the spelt we used. It still has little air bubbles in it, which I didn't expect at all actually. I tried it with olive oil to get the real taste of the bread and that the Mediterranean Roman felt. It snows outside at this moment, so it feels nice to LARP as a Roman citizen somewhere under the Mediterranean sun. So enough chit chat. I'm hungry now. Hmm. You can taste the spelt for sure. It reminds me of the browned bread from the Dutch stores. Actually, even the smell is pretty similar. I'm not a really big fan of that, so I'm not sure how to feel about this one. I think I prefer the wheat only bread, but overall, I can imagine how this fueled the Roman population for many years. Really straightforward, and it tasted really good. With the moretum from my last video, actually, it really augmented it, especially when you toast the bread. It makes it a lot better. So overall, I wouldn't be quick to make this again with spelt. I love making my own bread, but I'll just use wheat flour next time for my own taste because it was fun to try out something new and I get a real taste of the Roman bread, but for me personally, I prefer white bread. With all this being said and done, I would like to thank you for watching and be sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel for more ancient recipes. If you have any requests, let them know in the comments below please. See you next time on another episode of History. Thank you, bye bye.